Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Your Mindset, Your Power. Very happy you're here with me today. This conversation we're about to have is not only powerful, it's also uncomfortable, my friend, but in the best way. Let me ask you something. How many times have you said yes when your whole body was screaming no? How many times have you bitten your tongue, tolerated the disrespect, carried the weight just to keep the peace? Maybe you've been there. I certainly have. And here's the painful truth. Every time you betray your own boundaries, you lose a little piece of yourself. That's why today's conversation matters so much. Because loving yourself isn't about bubble bath and spa days. No, it's about protecting your energy, protecting your peace. It's about saying no without guilt. It's about standing firm in the truth that you are worthy of respect. And listen, the truth is you can't pour from an empty glass. No. Boundaries are like the oxygen mask on an airplane. You put yours on first, not because you don't care about others, but because that's the only way you can help anyone else. Self-care isn't selfish, my friend. It's survival. It's how you stay grounded and present for the things that truly matter. So let's talk about boundaries. What they are, why they matter, and how to start protecting your peace today. So what boundaries really mean? First, let's clear up the confusion. Because boundaries are not about controlling someone else. They're about your actions, yours. They don't start with you should or you need to stop. They don't even start with the word you at all. They start with I will. I will walk away from disrespect. I will remove myself from draining situations. I will protect my peace. I'm not responsible for your reactions. See the difference? Think of it this way. Boundaries are like the front door to your home. You decide who comes in, right? When and how long they stay. It's not about building walls. It's about protecting your space. Now that we know what boundaries really are, let's go deeper. Because boundaries aren't about pushing people away. No, my friend. They're about keeping love and respect alive. So let's talk about why boundaries are an act of love. Because boundaries protect you from resentment and burnout. That's the truth. Without them, you love from an empty cup. With them, you love authentically. Imagine a woman who's been saying yes for years, even when she meant no. She's been taken advantage of, disrespected, dismissed, and ignored. One day, she finally wakes up and realizes, I matter, my voice matters. She learns to say no. She demands respect. She starts to love herself enough to walk away from what hurts her. That is self-love in action. That is self-respect, my friend. Loving yourself means honoring your boundaries. Now, let's take this into the relationships that often test our boundaries the most. Romantic relationships. Yep. Let's talk about boundaries in romantic relationships, my friend. Because let's be clear, and this might be tough to hear, but love without boundaries isn't love, it's chaos. Yes. When you are dating, for example, especially at the beginning, it's so easy to ignore red flags, right? Maybe you've been there. You meet someone who shows all the signs of being the wrong partner. Addiction, lack of willpower, disrespect. And yes, you think, I can fix him. He'll change. Sounds familiar? You know, that project mindset where you believe your love will change someone? It doesn't work. Ignoring patterns doesn't make them go away. Ignoring red flags only makes the pain greater later. Here's the hard truth, my friend. If you don't communicate and enforce boundaries clearly, you're enabling bad behavior. And remember this, their anger, not your fault. Their mood swings, not your responsibility. Their disrespect, not your burden to carry. And their behavior is a reflection of them, not you. Love does not mean becoming someone's emotional punching bag. No. Love does not mean managing another adult's emotions. Healthy love does not make you feel unsafe. Healthy love does not silence you or make you doubt your worth. If you struggle with boundaries, especially with people who have aggressive or dominant personalities in your relationships, here's what often happens. They try to make you feel like setting boundaries is disrespectful. They may call you names when you walk away from their yelling. But let's be clear, that is manipulation. Yep. And listen, if you set a boundary and that person leaves, good. They've done you a favor. Because boundaries don't push away real love. They reveal who is truly for you. And so if you're listening right now and you are in a relationship like this, please hear me. You deserve more, my friend. You deserve respect. You deserve peace. You need boundaries. And here's the other side. Because if after you set clear boundaries, that person truly values you and wants to change, they will show it through action. Not empty promises, not words, but by taking responsibility, getting help and doing the work to change their behavior because they don't want to lose you. If you choose to forgive, let it be your choice, not pressure, not fear, not manipulation. Real change speaks louder than excuses. But boundaries are they're not only about love and family. Friendships matter too, my friend. So that's what we're going to talk about next. Boundaries in friendships. Boundaries are not just for romantic relationships. For example, let's say you're in college and you have a roommate who constantly criticizes you, puts you down, gives you an attitude, and makes you feel uncomfortable. That's not just their personality, that's a lack of respect. Think about it this way. Friendship is like a garden. If one plant starts overtaking all the sunlight and choking out of the others, you need to set boundaries so everything can grow healthy. So what do you do in those situations? You set boundaries, clear, straightforward, and respectful. You might even say, when you criticize me or give me attitude, I feel disrespected. I need us to treat each other with respect if we are going to share this space. I don't appreciate being put down. Make the communication clear. Then you stick to it. If the behavior continues, you follow through. Maybe limiting your time together, refusing to engage in arguments, or even requesting a different housing arrangement. Because here's the truth, my friend. If a friend or roommate refuses to honor your boundaries, they're showing you who they really are. And your job is not to fix them, it's to protect your peace. And listen, it doesn't stop here. Because boundaries are just as important in the workplace as it is in relationships and friendship. A space where many of us hesitate to set them, but we need them the most. So let's talk about boundaries in the workplace. Because picture this. You have a boss who plays favorites. doesn't treat you fairly, or constantly ignores your emails and requests, you feel overlooked and undervalued, right? Here's the thing. Even at work, boundaries are essential. Yes, you can't always control your boss, right? But you can control your communication and you follow through. You might set a boundary by being direct and professional and say things like, I've noticed my requests are being responded to and it's affecting my ability to do my job. Or saying, can we set a weekly check-in to review these items so I can stay on track? Or I need clear direction to complete this project successfully. Can we schedule a time to go over expectations? Right? And if the behavior doesn't change, you document patterns, my friend. Do it. Escalate respectfully if needed and involve HR if it's necessary. And remember, protecting your peace at work doesn't make you difficult. It makes you professional. So whether it's at home, with friends, or at work, boundaries always come down to one powerful word: no. And that's where we're going to talk next. Saying no without guilt. Because no is not mean. No is sacred. Saying no allows you to focus on what's really important for you. Showing up genuinely. So people know that when you say yes, you really mean it. And listen, there's also other ways to say no. Let me give you some examples. Maybe you just say, that doesn't work for me. I'll pass. Or I have to pass. I need to rest. I'm not available for that. Notice there's no explanation needed there. No apologies. Just straightforward truth. Be direct. Now, let's get real about one of the hardest situations to set boundaries in. Dealing with the people who drain your energy. Let's talk about those energy drainers. We all know them, right? The constant complainer, the friend who expects you to fix every crisis, the family member who makes their problems your responsibility, the person who leaves you depleted after a phone call. If you have someone in your life like this, my friend, you know how heavy it is. You know how heavy it feels, right? Maybe it's a family member who leans on you emotionally or financially or both, even though they're perfectly capable of taking care of themselves. Maybe it's someone who constantly complains but they never take action. And the guilt they throw at you when you try to step back is exhausting, right? But here's the truth. Saying yes all the time doesn't help them. No, it only enables them. But when you set boundaries and stick to them, even though it's hard at first, you start feeling lighter, more at peace. And listen, surprisingly, you're still showing love because you're giving them the chance to take responsibility for their own life. Yes, boundaries aren't just for you, my friend. They're also a way of saying, I believe in you and I know you're capable. And I won't carry your entire life for you. And here's the catch. The moment you set a boundary with these people, the guilt trips usually start. Yeah, be ready, my friend, because that's what we're going to talk about next, the guilt trap. This is where most people stumble. The moment you set a boundary, someone will try to make you feel guilty. For sure. But here's the truth. People who love you will respect your boundaries. People who don't will resist because they benefit from you having none. Boundaries are like a lock on your phone. The people who love you know the code because you have shared it with them, right? The ones who get upset, they're just mad. They no longer have free access to drain your energy. And if guilt tripping wasn't enough, let's talk about the experts at pushing boundaries. Narcissist, my friend. Yep. Listen, if you're dealing with a narcissist, a family member, a boss, or a friend, boundaries are not optional. They are needed to survive. Arguing with them is like pouring gasoline on a fire. The best boundary is refusing to play their game. Remove yourself if you can. Don't give them the fuel they crave. Narcissists will often push harder when you set boundaries. Yeah, they will start gaslighting you, guilt-tripping you, ignoring the boundaries. They lack empathy. Yes, so they will try to paint you as the villain. Don't fall into that trap. No. If you can't, remove yourself entirely. But if you can't, keep your boundaries crystal clear, short and firm. And even practice before in your head ahead of time. And as soon as you can, walk away. Remember, boundaries are for you to protect your peace, not to change them. But listen, sometimes the problem is just not other people. Sometimes it's just us, too, when we fall into that trap of people-pleasing. And listen, I wanted to talk about people-pleasing and boundaries because that is something I've struggled with most of my life. People-pleasing? I mean, I know many of you listening have been there, right? If you are always trying to keep the peace, saying yes to everyone else, here's the cost. You ended up saying no to yourself over and over again. People-pleasing is like handing out pieces of your own oxygen mask until there's nothing left for you. And the heartbreaking part, the people you're trying so hard to please will often never be satisfied anyway. The shift happens when you realize you don't owe anyone your exhaustion. No, saying yes out of fear isn't kindness, it's self-betrayal. In my case, people-pleasing was mostly about avoiding confrontation, especially when I was dealing with someone explosive and violent. I was scared, so I tried to prevent him from hurting me further. What did I do? I shrunk. I avoided confrontation as much as possible. I tried to set boundaries, but guess what? I didn't stick to them out of fear. And as a result, resentment, exhaustion, unhappiness, I was drained. I completely lost my identity, my self-respect, and my self-esteem. Years later, after finally freeing myself from that toxic situation, I realized I was still people-pleasing unconsciously too. Because listen, learning how to say no without guilt and putting myself first when I needed it to, it's been my journey. And when I finally started doing it, the feeling was amazing. I can't explain. Now I show up as a better version of myself to the people who matter most in my life. Listen, I'm still working on it daily. Sometimes I even catch myself saying yes too quickly. But now I'm aware, so I can change it, and I just say no without guilt or over-explaining myself. And so can you, my friend. Of course you can. All right. Oh my goodness. All right. Let's, how do we pull all this together and actually start living it every day? So let's do a quick recap because boundaries are important. So let's write this down, put them where you can see them. And this is the list of boundaries to remember. First, boundaries are about your actions, not controlling other people's action. 2, saying no is not selfish, it's sacred. 3, you can't pour from an empty glass. Protect your energy first so you show up as your best self. 4, people who truly love you will respect your boundaries. 5, the ones who don't, that's information needed because most likely they simply benefited from you not having any. 6, no is a complete sentence. Yeah, it's a complete sentence. 7. Their behavior is a reflection of them, not you. 8. Boundaries don't push people away. They create healthier connection. It's like boundaries, I see boundaries as a filter. They don't block out love. They just catch the toxins in the air. And what it stays is what's healthy. And listen, to close this amazing and powerful conversation, here's the bottom line, my friend. Boundaries are not walls. They're bridges. They allow love, connection, and peace to flow without draining your soul. And I want you to hear this. You don't need permission to set boundaries. You don't need approval to protect your peace. No is a complete sentence. So give yourself permission today to say no without guilt, to choose rest without apology, to walk away from what disrespects you. And remember this, setting boundaries doesn't make you lose the people who truly love you. No, it only removes the manipulators, the abusers, and the energy drainers who were never supporting your peace in the first place. The people who love you will stay, my friend. They will stay. The ones who only loved what they could take from you, they will leave, and that's your freedom. So stop saying yes when everything in your gut is telling you to say no. And yes, you can, my friend. I believe in you. I am so proud of you, and I appreciate you every day. Thanks for being here. Please share this episode with someone who needs stronger boundaries in their life. Until next week, protect your peace, my friend. Honor your worth, and remember, you deserve it. You got this. I love you guys. Have an awesome week.